All right, welcome to the Ironwood Gym. Hopefully you got a chance to check out one of my recent videos talking about push-ups, discussing what push-ups are not and what push-ups should actually be. This video, I'm going to take that a step further. I'm going to start by going over different variations of push-ups, things that once you get good or decent at regular push-ups, you can start adding these into your program to challenge yourself in a different way, to get something more out of it. And each variation is a little bit different in what you're actually going to be getting out of it. Or maybe just to put some variety into your training. Then I'm going to go over how to implement the push-up into your training, how to actually plan it, and as well as how to work some of these variations into your training. This is not going to be an exhaustive list of variations. It's not going to be an exhaustive list of how to use push-ups, but it'll just give you some ideas. And certainly if you have a creative mind, you can come up with different variations or different ways of working push-ups into your program. Whether it just be doing a ton of reps in one set or doing multiple sets or however that you think you could do it. I'm just going to give you a few ideas. So let's get started. We're going to start with going over different variations of the push-up. Alright, for the first variation, this is actually one of my favorites, probably is my favorite, is to do push-ups with my hands on a bar. Okay. I'm going to have my feet on this box back behind me just to kind of level things out a little bit. It's not exactly like having my feet on the floor or hands on the floor, but just to bring them kind of up a little bit more level with the bar. But this is a little bit more challenging than regular push-up. Your abs are going to be involved a little bit more. Probably puts a little bit more stress on your triceps. But to do this, you're going to take a moderate grip on the bar. About the same place, maybe a little bit wider than what you would do if you were doing push-ups on the floor. Just grab the bar tight. From there, it's everything we've discussed in the past on how to do a push-up. So having your elbows go back to the back, squeezing your abs tight so your torso is in a nice rigid position, and do push-ups touching your bar to the chest every time. So this is what that would look like. Take my grip on the bar, make sure I squeeze the bar tight, and that the bar is not rolling. I've actually got it fixed in here so it won't move. Nice rigid position with my torso, elbows or chest to the bar. Extend back up. Okay. Pretty simple, but a great variation of the push-up. All right, so this variation is just a weighted push-up. So once you're good at push-ups, you need to find a way to make them more challenging. As I'm showing different variations that'll do that, this is just the basic push-up, but making it more challenging by adding weight. So with a partner, you're going to get into push-up position. The partner will put a weight on your back. You want the center of that weight probably just below your shoulder blades. Once you're finished doing the set, your partner can take the plate off. So get into position first, same thing, hand position, a little bit wider than shoulder width, chest level, nice and tight in the abs. Okay, now the partner puts the plate on your back. Once the plate is set on your back, then you start with your push-ups. Finish the set, partner takes it off, and that is it. That's just the basic weighted push-up. Alright, this variation is going to be push-ups with your feet elevated back behind you on a box. You can vary the height of the box. The steeper the angle that you're at, the higher the box, the more you're going to get your shoulders involved. Sort of like turning it into an incline press. When you do this, again, same principles apply. Okay, you still want your abs crunched tight, nice rigid torso. Your hips should not be shooting up in the air. They should not be sagged down. Your hand position might be a little bit more in front now just because of the angle that you're at. So it's probably going to move up towards your shoulders a little bit versus being at your chest. So you're gonna be up a little bit higher. The one thing here is that your face almost gets in the way. The steeper the angle, the chances are your face is gonna be making contact with the ground before your chest does. You can look up and try to get your chest to the ground. I still just kind of keep my head more of in a neutral position. I might move it up a little bit. You're still getting pretty good range of motion by just getting down probably around to where your chin touches the floor, and then go ahead and come back up. You don't need to fight or get your spine out of position trying to get your chest to the ground. So this is what that'll look like. You're gonna start, you're gonna get your feet up on the box. Feet on the box here. Okay, my hands are in good position. My elbows are still gonna go to the back. I'm locked in the torso. That's chin to the ground right there. And that's push-ups with your feet elevated. All right, for this variation of the push-up, I'm gonna place my hands on a stability ball. Now, this is probably, I don't know if it's the most challenging. It is a very challenging way of doing push-ups. You have to have a lot of stability through your abs to make sure to try to stay tight and stay in position. You're gonna bring your chest into play quite a bit, okay? You probably have a tendency to try to squeeze the ball. That's okay, but that does bring your chest into play, bring your pecs. The one thing about this is every time I do this, it feels different. And so, like I said, it's a very challenging variation. We're gonna see how I do on this. I just did a few reps. They came out okay, but every single time I do it, it feels different. So this is gonna be a very challenging exercise that you would add in once you are proficient at doing some of those other variations that I just showed. So here, your hands, you don't want them right on top. You don't want to be way out to the side. Okay, you're going to be kind of probably a little bit closer on this. You're going to bring your chest to the ball. Now when you get to the ball, you don't want to lay down on the ball. Okay, you don't just want to lay on the ball. You still want to maintain tension, and you probably will lay on it a little bit. The less you lay on it though, the better. Okay, so I'm going to get this ball set here. Again, not super wide with my hands. I want them kind of on that angle that's in between being on the outside and being right on top. I've got to maintain a very tight, stable torso, and you can probably see that I'm shaking on this. Lower myself to the ball, press back up. Okay, you can do that with your feet elevated as well, but get used to doing it first with your feet on the floor and your hands on the ball. There's a lot of instability here that you have to fight against, and there is a chance that ball could squirt out and you end up falling on it. So get used to doing it with your feet on the floor first, so that'll add some stability in. Then later on, once you get good at that, you can put your feet up on the box. All right, so this is going to be a staggered push-up. You're going to stagger your hands and do X amount to one way, and then switch your hands and do X amount to the other. Or you could just rest in between and count them each as separate sets. So when you do these, you're going to take your normal push-up hand position at chest level. You're going to scoot one hand forward just a little bit, and then take your other hand back so that your fingertips are about even with the base of your hand, base of your palm. Okay, so forward a little, back down, fingertips are about even with the base of your palm. Your hand that is back is really going to be a lot closer to your side when you actually do the push-up, and the hand that is forward will your elbow will probably go out to the side just a little bit more than normal. This is going to change the extent on each arm. That will be working more of the shoulder, that will be working more of the tricep, okay? So I get into position. I still want to have my abs locked in, nice rigid torso. As I do these, you're probably going to notice you're going to want to shift to one side just a little bit. That's actually okay as long as you're not overdoing it too much. So get my hand position set, my abs are tucked in. I move one hand forward a little bit, take the other hand back, approximately fingers even with the base of my palm on the other hand. There I do my push-up. My right elbow is going almost straight back. My left elbow is going out to the side a little bit so you can see it from the other side. Same thing. Move my right hand forward a little bit, pull my left hand back. And those are staggered push-ups. All right, this variation is the diamond push-up. Okay, where people, not me, but they'll take and put their hands in this position so their thumbs and forefingers are touching and actually make kind of a diamond shape with the inside of their hands. This is a real struggle for me. My shoulder mobility and previous injuries and pec issues that I've had do not really let me do this exercise. So you can modify it. Some people like to do close grip push-ups. So I will still take the same hand position and just move my hands out a little bit, okay? And really, it's more of a close grip push-up than a diamond push-up, but I'm still utilizing that hand position. It's just a little bit wider. So this would be a diamond push-up position here. I'm gonna move my hands out just a little bit, not as wide as a regular push-up, and I'm still utilizing that diamond configuration with my hands. I'm not gonna change my hand position. I'm gonna use that same position just a little bit wider. So here, keep everything rigid in my torso, chest to the ground, okay? Getting a lot more tricep work there. My problem with it is whenever and some people can do this just fine. For me personally, if I try to do it here, because my elbow is actually going further back, it's actually putting more stress on my pec and on my shoulder that doesn't do well for me. So again, diamond push-ups or modified diamond or close grip, in which you just move your hands out a little bit. Still going to be hitting your triceps to a much greater degree. Still a good variation of the push-up. All right, this variation is the Spider-Man push-up. Going to bring a lot more torso and core stability into play. Just think of Spider-Man climbing a wall and doing push-ups at the same time. So every time you go to the floor, your knee is going to come up to your side. No better way to describe this than actually get down and do it. So, and I'm going to alternate every leg. So here goes Spider-Man push-ups. So good position here, good hand position. Nice and stiff, rigid torso. As I go down, I'm going to start with my right leg. As I lower myself, my knee comes up, it goes back as I come up. Switch legs. Great exercise, going to bring your torso and abs into play a lot more, but those are Spider-Man push-ups. All right. This is going to be the last variation that I show. This is going to be a push-up to T-hold. This variation is challenging, particularly for heavier athletes or for athletes that don't have good stability through their torso or good control, good motor control of their torso, and also for athletes that aren't very good at push-ups. This would be something that you added in later after they've developed the strength to do push-ups and maybe even a few different variations of the push-ups proficiently, and then you would bring this in. This variation is going to challenge your shoulder stability to a great extent, as I've also already mentioned, your torso stability. But you're going to finish as you're going to do a push-up. And as you do your push-up, you're going to finish by rotating into a T position, which is going to bring in a lot of scapular stability and shoulder stability for the down arm. As you rotate, you want to finish in a straight line. You're going to start in a straight line with that nice rigid torso. When you finish, you should also be finished in a nice rigid straight line position with your hips pushed forward, almost like a side bridge or what a lot of people like to call the side plank position, with those hips pushed forward, your abs, your obliques, everything locked in, your glutes locked in, and in a T position. So what this will look like, I'm going to go ahead, get in a good push-up position. Everything holds true here, just like always. Good hand position to start off with, about level with my chest. I'm going to touch my chest to the ground. My hips are in good position. I'm going to touch my chest to the ground. I'm going to push up somewhat explosively. As I get to the top, I'm going to rotate over into that T position. Okay, so here, I do my push-up, rotate at the top, and I finish in a nice T position with my feet stacked. Then I come down and I switch. Now do one more to the other side. Okay, those are push-up to T-hold. All right, so there's some different variations that you can add in to your program to get different things out of the push-up, or just for variety's sake. Sometimes just doing the same standard push-ups all the time is boring, and probably why a lot of people stop doing them. We're gonna look now at some different tips, some advice on how to implement push-ups into your program, whether you are starting from barely being able to do push-ups, or you're someone that is more advanced and can do several push-ups at a time. And then we'll move into how to start implementing some of the variations into the program. Keep in mind, none of this is rocket science. I'm just gonna give a few tips, and there are certainly more ways than what I'm putting out here. Hopefully I don't leave you with more questions than answers, but feel free to comment down below, leave some questions, and I'll definitely respond to them. The first thing that I want to point out is some people tend to have wrist pain when they're doing push-ups. When they're down in that push-up position, it puts a lot of stress on their wrists, particularly on this back side here. Don't be afraid to grab a pair of wrist wraps and wrap your wrists. Wrap them firmly. They don't need to be wrapped to the extreme, like you're trying to cast your wrist for a 500-600 pound or more bench press. Just get them firm so that it is providing support and stability to your wrist. It'll make a huge difference in how your wrists feel while doing push-ups. Okay, so let's look at some programming stuff. First, I want to talk about the person that can't do very many push-ups, and then I'll provide some alternatives to someone who maybe can't do any push-ups, or maybe still in that case can't do very many and wants to find ways to increase the amount that they're doing. So, from a programming standpoint, for that person, whether it be yourself or whether it be someone that you're coaching, or maybe a team that you're working with that can only do maybe 2 or 3 good push-ups. I'm not talking 2 or 3 out here. In that case, they can't do any. All right, they need to be good quality push-ups, but they're not very strong. All right, so if you're working with someone that's in that boat, how I would program it was to start out with very low reps. Keep in mind, if they can only do 2 push-ups at a time, that's essentially like 97% of their max. All right, and the bench press, would you do 97% of your max to failure every single time you did the bench press? Probably not, okay? So start with very few reps. If they can only do 3 good push-ups, start with 1 and try to add volume, not in the terms of reps per set, but in terms of total number of sets. Do this throughout the workout. So do it during your assistance work. You're doing bicep curls. In between sets, do singles on push-ups. Okay? Do that until you can get up to 10 push-ups. 10 individual sets of 1 rep. Once you get to 10, back down. Now start doing sets of 2. You may get to a point where you get up to triples and you get to 5 sets and that's just too much for you. That is fine. You're now doing 15 reps, whereas when you started, you were just doing maybe not even 10, maybe 10 singles. Now you're doing 15 total reps. So that is actually progress. But start small and gradually work up. If you're in the case where you can't do any push-ups, there are 2 alternatives to this. One would be isometrics. I do plan on coming out with an article on isometrics and eccentrics very soon. It's not out yet, but definitely want to check that out whenever it comes out. But isometric push-ups or static holds are a great way to develop strength in specific parts of the range of motion. Eccentrics are also great. Have them start at the top and slowly lower themselves. Okay, lower themselves for a 5 count, but everything has to be correct as they're doing this. So elbows are going, good hand position. Hips are locked in, not shooting up in the air, not sagging down. They're lowering themselves until their chest is touching the ground or very close to the ground. Okay, with the isometric holds, this is the close to your chest is going to be the hardest position, where you're down all the way down. Don't hold on the ground. Hold just off the ground, maybe an inch off the ground. Hold that for time. Maybe only starting with 5 seconds. That's okay if they could only do a slightly more than that. That is going to help them get stronger. Now that is position specific, so it'll only help them get stronger in that bottom position. But you could also do holds at the midpoint or a higher midpoint. Okay, those will all help develop strength throughout the range of motion. Another way is to use bands, okay? And I'm a huge proponent of this for women or even guys or anyone that can't do good push-ups, but you still want to get more volume in per set. You have a partner, okay? The person doing the push-up is on the ground. You have a partner hold each end of the band. They have to stand over the top of the person doing the push-ups. So they're going to straddle them. They're going to take the band, run it underneath the person, and they're holding both ends of the band with the person being supported by that middle part of the band. Then the person doing the push-ups can do push-ups. The band will actually assist them out of the bottom, especially where they're the weakest, and allow them to train through that full range of motion, both concentrically and eccentrically. If they're doing this and the person holding the band decides that it's too easy for them, all that person has to do is lower the band. Okay, now it will become harder. If it's too hard and they're barely getting through it, they can raise their hands. Now it will provide more tension, helping the athlete or the lifter more throughout the range of motion, and especially at that bottom point. But that's a great way to help develop push-up strength. Okay, let's move on. Okay, that's getting to do push-ups. Start small, start with assistance, start with isometrics or eccentrics, and progress forward gradually. If you're already good at push-ups, you can do a couple different things here. You can do a specific number of sets and reps. This is what I like to do. I will start with something that's not, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's not going to fatigue me, or it's not going to take me to failure. So I'll start with 3 sets of 8. And then over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, I add 2 reps per set. So I go from 3 sets of 8 to 3 sets of 10 the next week, to 3 sets of 12 the next week, to 3 sets of 15 the 4th week. By the time I get to the 12s and the 15s, it is becoming very, very difficult. Look what's happening in terms of volume here. You start out with 3 sets of 8, that's 24 reps. Week 2, you do 3 sets of 10, now you're doing 30 reps. Week 3, you're up to 36 reps at 3 sets of 12. And then week 4, now you're up to 45 reps. So in the course of those 4 weeks, you're almost doubling the total amount of reps that you're doing. And that will be very, very difficult by the time you get to the end. And you can do that for whatever range of reps. If you're a very lean person that's good at push-ups, chances are you could probably already do 3 sets of 10 to 3 sets of 15. And you can progress from there up to sets of 20 or whatever the case may be. But you want to start out with definitely within your capacity, progress up each week to where the last week is very questionable to whether you can do that or not. But hopefully you'll be able to do it. Another way you could implement it is lots of people like to do finishers. Okay, so they get to the end of the workout, get down, knock out 1 or 2 sets to failure, getting as many reps as you could possibly get in each set, developing a lot of blood flow, and really creating that burn that you're looking for in the finisher. But if you're doing that, do good reps all the time. Don't start cheating just to get more reps. Don't start doing half reps and quarter reps just to get a higher number. Don't start putting your hips up in the air and doing these to get a higher number. Do good quality reps and only record the good ones. So how would you progress different types of variations? This is fairly simple. There's no rocket science to this. I like to start with something more basic and progress to something that's more difficult. So one progression might be starting with push-ups, regular standard push-ups, feet and hands on the floor. Then you progress to push-ups with your feet elevated. Then you progress to push-ups with your hands on the bar, and then finally to push-ups on a stability ball. Another option would be regular standard push-ups week 1 or for a set number of weeks, and then you would progress to staggered push-ups and then diamond push-ups. That's the progression that I use with track and field for a number of years. There's no right or wrong answer how to do this, but generally speaking, you're going to go from more basic, the more simple terms to more advanced terms. And that's in the same sense of whether you're talking about adding reps to just the basic push-up, you're starting with a standard 3 sets of 8 and you progress to something more difficult, or you're starting with a more simple push-up variation and you're progressing to a more difficult variation. There are a number of different ways to do this. It's really limited to your creativity. There are also a number of variations that I did not show in the video. Some that I know, and I'm sure there's a ton more that I'm just not thinking about. Some that I know are walking push-ups, where you get in a push-up position, you do a push-up, you step forward with both hands. And walk your feet up, of course, do a push-up, and you do this for distance. You can do this with an ab wheel. Put an ab wheel on your feet, have one of the ones that attaches to your feet, do a push-up, step forward, roll your feet forward with that ab wheel, push up, step, push up, and continue that way. Wheelbarrow push-ups, where you have a partner holding, these are very challenging, where you have a partner holding your ankles, okay? You do the push-up, now your feet are elevated as he's holding your ankles. You step forward with both hands, he walks up as well. You do the push-up, step, push up, and continue that way. Again, I'm sure there's a number of variations out there. Don't be afraid to try new things or different things. I just wanted to get more out there than what is currently thought about. So there are some basic variations that I showed in this video. Try those out. Try some of the progressions that I mentioned as far as ways to improve your push-ups by adding reps, by adding sets, or adding new variations to make it more challenging that way. If you have any questions, I'm sure I'm leaving plenty of things unanswered. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Any feedback as well, leave it in the comments. But until next time, always be in the pursuit of strength.